Forget everything you thought you knew about who discovered America. Long before Columbus, a group of legendary seafarers crossed the treacherous North Atlantic. These weren't just explorers, they were Vikings. And their journey to the New World is a saga of courage, conflict, and mystery that's far more incredible than the history books let on. So, how did they do it? And what really happened when they landed on the shores of what is now Canada? Let's set sail back in time, 1,000 years ago, to uncover the true story of the Viking exploration of America. Our story begins not with a grand plan of discovery, but with a series of happy and not so happy accidents. It all starts in the late 10th century. The Vikings, masters of the sea, had already colonized Iceland. From there, a fiery character named Eric the Red, exiled for manslaughter, pushed even further west. He stumbled upon a massive, icy land, but cleverly named it Greenland to attract settlers. And it worked. A thriving Norse colony was established. But Greenland was just a stepping stone. The real story begins with a man named Bjarni Herjolfsson. In 986, Bjarni was sailing from Iceland to join his father in Greenland. But a fierce storm blew his ship off course. For days, he and his crew were lost in a fog-drenched sea. When the fog finally lifted, they saw land. But it wasn't the Greenland they were expecting. It was a land covered in forests, with low hills. It was unlike the icy shores they knew. Being a practical man, not an explorer, Bjarni didn't go ashore. His goal was to reach his family in Greenland. He described the new lands he'd seen 3 distinct coasts and then continued on his way. But the stories he told back in Greenland sparked an immense curiosity, a land full of trees. For settlers in Greenland, where timber was incredibly scarce, this was like hearing about a land made of gold. Enter Leif Erikson, the son of Eric the Red. Leif was ambitious, curious, and had the Viking spirit of adventure running through his veins. Intrigued by Bjarni's tales, he bought Bjarni's ship, gathered a crew of 35 men, and decided to retrace the journey in reverse to see these mysterious lands for himself. Around the year 1000, they set sail. The first land they encountered was a desolate place of flat rocks and glaciers. Leif named it Helgeland, which means land of flat stones. Today, we believe this was Baffin Island in Canada. It wasn't very inviting, so they sailed on. Their next stop was a land that was flat and wooded, with white sandy beaches. Leif named this place Markland, or Forest Land. This was likely the coast of modern-day Labrador. For the Vikings, this was a treasure trove. The endless forests promised all the timber they could ever need for building ships, homes, and tools. But they didn't stop there. They sailed south for 2 more days and found a place that was even better. They sailed up a river that flowed from a lake into the sea. The climate was mild, the rivers were teeming with the largest salmon they had ever seen, and there was plenty of pasture for their livestock. It seemed like a paradise. They decided to build a settlement and spend the winter there. And here's where the story gets really famous. According to the sagas, one day, a man from Leif's crew, a German named Turker, went missing. They searched anxiously for him. When they finally found him, he was ecstatic, babbling in his native tongue. He had found something incredible: grapevines. Wild grapes were growing in this new land. This was a huge deal for Vikings, who loved their wine. Because of this discovery, Leif Erikson named the land Vinland, the land of wine. Leif and his crew spent a comfortable winter in Vinland, gathering timber and grapes before sailing back to Greenland. Their return, laden with valuable resources, caused a sensation. The path to a new world was now open, but Leif's journey was just the beginning. Other expeditions followed. Leif's brother, Thorvald, led the next voyage. He used Leif's camp in Vinland as a base for further exploration. It was during his expedition that the Norse had their first ever encounter with the native inhabitants of North America. The sagas call them Skrælings, a term that likely meant barbarians or foreigners. We believe these were the ancestors of the Beothuk or Mi'kmaq peoples. Sadly, this first contact was not peaceful. Thorvald's men found 9 natives sleeping under their skin-covered canoes. In a tragic and violent clash, the Vikings attacked and killed 8 of them. One escaped and returned with a larger force. A battle ensued, and Thorvald was fatally wounded by an arrow. His dying words were to be buried in this beautiful land he had hoped to make his home. This marked the first recorded violent conflict between Europeans and indigenous people in North America. Despite the danger, the allure of Vinland's resources was strong. The most ambitious attempt at colonization was led by an Icelandic merchant named Thorfinn Karlsefni. Around the year 1010, he led a large expedition of about 60 men, several women, and livestock, intending to establish a permanent colony. They settled at Leif's old camp, and for a while, things went well. They even had a son, Snorri, who is considered the first European child born in the Americas. They began to trade with the Skrallings, offering red cloth and milk in exchange for furs. But tensions grew. The sagas tell a story of a bull from the Norse camp that broke loose and terrified the natives, shattering the fragile peace. Conflicts erupted, and despite their iron weapons, the small group of Vikings was vastly outnumbered. After about 3 years, facing constant hostility and the immense difficulty of sustaining a colony so far from home, Karlsefni and the other settlers made the difficult decision to abandon Vinland. They packed up and sailed back to Greenland. For centuries, this incredible story was dismissed by many historians as mere myth, a fanciful tale from the Icelandic sagas. There was no hard proof. That all changed in the 1960s. A Norwegian husband and wife team, Helge and Steiningsted, were determined to find evidence. Following the descriptions in the sagas, they searched the coastline of Newfoundland. And then, at a place called Meadows, at the very northern tip of Newfoundland, they made a discovery that would rewrite history. They found the remains of a Norse settlement. Archaeological digs uncovered the foundations of 8 turf-walled buildings, including a longhouse, a forge, and workshops. They found iron boat rivets, a soapstone spindle whorl used for spinning wool, and a bronze cloak pin, all distinctly Viking artifacts. Carbon dating confirmed the site was occupied right around the year 1000, matching the timeline of the sagas perfectly. This was it, the physical proof. Meadows wasn't just a myth. It was the real-life Vinland settlement described by Leif Erikson. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a testament to the Vikings' incredible achievement. So why didn't the Vikings stay? Why didn't they colonize America the way Europeans did 500 years later? The answer lies in a combination of factors. The distance was immense, making resupply and reinforcement from Greenland nearly impossible. They were also vastly outnumbered by the native populations who, quite rightly, saw them as invaders. And finally, their small settlements in Greenland were themselves struggling to survive. They simply didn't have the resources or the manpower to support a transatlantic colony. The Viking Age in America was brief, lasting maybe only a couple of decades, but its legacy is immense. It proves that Christopher Columbus was not the first European to reach the New World. The Vikings, with their unparalleled seafaring skills and boundless courage, got there 5 centuries earlier. Their story isn't just a footnote in history. It's a gripping saga of exploration, encounter, and the incredible human drive to see what lies over the horizon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more historical adventures. See you in the next video.